Welcome to another Inspector's Spotlight. This is a periodic session that we do that we like to highlight one of our members. And today we are welcoming Tony Escamilla. Welcome, Tony.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I am doing fabulous, and probably not as fabulous as you are. I've been seeing a lot of stuff on the social medias about you and your company, and I think that's kind of why we're going to talk today.
Absolutely, yes.
So I guess let's get started a little bit by telling everybody where you're located.
I am in Southern California. Specifically, we are out of Claremont, which is a portion of Southern California called the San Gabriel Valley. And so we service the San Gabriel Valley and Orange County and all of the Los Angeles area as well.
So to give a frame of reference to to those that are watching this, what do you think the population is that you're drawing upon?
Oh, wow. The population just in Los Angeles alone is several million.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is. There's a lot of people, but the thing about Southern California is that it's also very spread out. I'll give you an example. I have a 2020 Tacoma that has a little over 100,000 miles on it already. And yeah, I double what most regular people drive with their car, because everything is so spread out and you're stuck in traffic all the time. So yeah, it has the weather's the perk. But yeah.
So north south wise, how many miles do you travel north and south?
North and south, I would say I travel on average probably about right around 100 miles one way or round trip. Yeah. Yep. I do everything all the way down to borderline San Diego to the south. Borderline Ventura County to the north, and just up to the San Gabriel Valley to the north, because then there's a set of mountains, and you go over to the desert, and we don't service that area. But yeah, it's enough to keep us busy.
Yeah, well, I always ask that because as we're going to continue this conversation, there's going to be a frame of reference to the building blocks and the growth that you've had. And there can be some argument that, oh, it was so easy for Tony because he's got so much population. And I live in the rural area of Missouri, and I don't have that population. But as you well know, because you're a businessman, everything's scalable.
And everything is scalable. Yes, I have a huge population, but I also have tremendous amount of competition. Yep. And here in Southern California, there's a couple of really big fish in the water, and so competing with them is it's a day-to-day thing. Yeah.
It's fun. It's a sparring match.
It's a sparring match. It absolutely is. Yeah. Anytime that I can take one from the Goliath, I'm all too happy.
I had that experience in my career as well, where there was another friendly competitor in my same area, and I knew when our proposals were going up against each other, and he tried hard to knock me down, and I tried hard to knock him down, and make sure that we were eating.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's how it goes. There's a lot of competition, and you're right. It is for the most part friendly competition. I know a lot of home inspectors or property inspectors out here that I see on a regular basis where we do networking functions. We all get along great. Yeah. We sit down, have a beer together, and hey, how's it going for you? How's it going for you? And we know we're competitors, but it is Southern California, and there's enough food for more than one plate.
Yeah, I agree, and that helps us. So tell me about your background, your history a little bit, Tony.
So we have been in business now for 25 years. And I kind of fell into it because I was working for a lender at the time, way back then, who was doing hard money loans for investors who were flipping properties. So on occasion, he would have to take properties back and foreclose and that kind of stuff. So he would send me out to take a look at the property. He decided whether he wanted to fix it up himself or just dump it and sell it as is. So I started doing that a lot, and I kind of, I've always had that background. So I decided to get into construction first. And so I've had my general contractor's license for 23 years. But I opened up my home inspection business first. And, like most home inspectors, you start part-time, you're doing your thing. And so I managed to build the business for a while. And then the real estate market bottomed out in 2008. I ended up taking a job for a local city, and then the real estate market bounced back. So now I had a job, had a thriving market again. It's like I finally got to the point where I had to make the decision, and I decided to scale the business again. And so we started bringing on help, other inspectors. The real estate market took off, which was great. But then, like anything else, cyclically, it takes another dip, which we're kind of in right now. But it will bounce back, and I know it's going to bounce back. And that was the opportunity to think about commercial inspection. So I've got my contractor's license. I have my ICC certification for commercial and residential and housing, which plays out really nicely for multifamily inspections. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. Let me tell you. They say you never work a day in your life if you love what you're doing. I have yet to work a day in my life. Yeah.
So you talked about scaling, and that's a buzzword for a lot of building inspectors. Now, do you have I guess the question I would have is as you were scaling up and bringing on more inspectors, that first one, how tough was it personally for you bringing on that first inspector?
It's an adjustment. It is an adjustment because if you don't have, you're going to find out really quickly from going from a one-man operation to bringing on even one more inspector. We have now several inspectors, but you'll find out that you very quickly start wearing a lot of hats.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're not only worrying about yourself, you're worrying about another inspector, another mouth to feed, basically. And you cannot take your foot off the pedal, number one, when it comes to marketing. But you also have to build in systems into your business and make it as efficient and effective as possible. And without that, it becomes really chaotic, especially when things start getting busy. It becomes really chaotic, and you cannot provide a certain level of service to your clients if you don't have all of these systems built in. And the growing pains, a lot of the stuff you don't know a lot of the times you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And as things come up during the day and during the week, especially when you're busy and your hair's on fire, and somebody didn't get notified or got a confirmation for inspection, the inspector drives out 50 miles and there's nobody there, things like that, you start figuring out really quickly that you need to do all of this stuff to keep everybody happy. But yeah, that was the first obvious thing to scaling.
So it sounds like the easiest part for you was the release, because you never said in this conversation that I had a hard time hiring because nobody's as good as me. That's usually the line.
That is a thing. It is a thing. It's letting go of some of that control and not wanting to be there all the time. It's a flip side. There's two sides to the coin. One, a lot of clients who have been working with you for a while will want you there specifically. And so telling them that you're sending another inspector creates a bit of friction, one. And so you have to assure the client that, hey, this person is really well trained. They know what they're doing, they have a good background. And once they start working with them, then they're comfortable and they'll continue working with them. But two is releasing some of that control
Yeah.
and trusting that they're going to do a good job. And so I even when I was not present at the inspection, I still to this day I still review most of the inspection reports that go out before they go out.
Good for
And
you.
not as in much detail as I used to, because I know the consistency of some of my inspectors and that I know where the bodies are buried. So, you know, a couple of my inspectors, I hardly ever even look at the report anymore before it goes out the door. And other ones I know that I have to spend a couple more minutes looking at it. So that's just my control thing.
Yeah. I was the same way, Tony. I get to the office early in the morning, I'd have my cup of coffee, and I just allocated 25 minutes of every morning instead of social media. It
Yep.
was report review. And that's all I did. But I was challenged because I had 20 inspectors.
Wow.
And,
Okay. Yeah.
and so it was really honey picking the exact ones I was going to read in that 20 minutes or 25 minutes. But that's what it took for one cup of coffee. And then I went on with my day.
And that's it. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's nice to hear that, because I've been lucky enough in my career to have a lot of offices and maintain a lot of inspectors. And that was always the mindset of the manager in those offices, that the toughest thing is the hiring, and nobody's as good. But if you can release, then I think scalability, you probably helped me with this, but wouldn't you agree that the cost of one inspector working for you is about the same as hiring 3?
It is. It is. And it just becomes, you know, the day-to-day activity is the same whether you have 1 or 10.
Yes.
And it just becomes, you have to be willing to let go of certain things so that you can step back and manage these other inspectors. And you can't be out in the field and manage, you know, 5 inspectors. It's just not going to happen. You're going to drive yourself ragged. And so you have to have, you know, I have a good office assistant who handles everything. She's a godsend. And, you know, then the inspectors, I trust they know what they're doing. And so my job is to put out fires sometimes and make those phone calls and take questions from my assistant. Hey, so-and-so called and they, you know, they have a question about this, or they want to schedule a meeting with you, or this and that. And so while I still love getting out in the field, I know that my job is primarily in the background now, and making sure that we stay at the levels that we are now, and that we continue to grow towards what our goals are for this year, for example.
Now, you had mentioned, Tony, that you had a transition and a thought for commercial. What really spawned that interest in commercial inspections and making that transition between residential and commercial?
You know, I've always loved commercial inspection, and over the years, I've done several commercial inspections. And, you know,
By accident, right?
Kind of by accident, yes. As a contractor and an ICC commercial building inspector, you tend to attract, you know, other types of clients. And so by accident, I started getting commercial inspections, and I realized it doesn't take you very long to realize that there's a lot better money in commercial than there is in residential, and a lot less headaches. And so I thought it was time to venture out. Right now, with our real estate market here in Southern California, and in most places in the country, things have slowed down. And the residential market has slowed down quite a bit. But here in Southern California, the commercial market, particularly industrial warehouse space, close out the year really strong. There's a lot of warehouse space here for logistics, for all of these online companies and things like that. And that market is still strong. So my goals were, and what attracted me, 1, I like doing the inspections. 2, is less headaches. 3, I want to diversify. I don't want all our eggs in one basket with a residential. So I want to hit have the residential side, have the commercial side, and we still do a lot of multifamily. And that kind of falls, depending on how big the property is, it kind of falls into one of the two categories. We did a
Yep.
56 unit building the other day. It was 3 large buildings, but they only wanted a certain amount of the units, the actual interiors inspected, but we inspected everything else. So that actually fell into the commercial side, not so much the residential. So that's what, in short, that's what attracted me, is that I want to diversify the business.
Now, I know for your training, you did come to our class in Boulder.
Yes,
Have you been training and up training your team as well yourself?
I am. First of all, I thoroughly enjoyed the class over there. I had a great time. I was a little hesitant at first. Like I said, I've been around for a long time, and okay, let's go. If I want to dive into the commercial side, I want to make sure that I do it properly and not just say, oh, by the way, I do commercial as well. Nobody will take you seriously that way. And so I wanted to make a serious effort. I went to Colorado. It was a great time. I learned a lot. In answer to training, one of my other inspectors has already been in your class
Oh,
back in November. The
okay.
other Tony, the other
Okay.
Tony was in there. And I'm planning on sending one of my other inspectors to go as well. So we're starting to build our team for inspections. But yeah.
Well, if it's easier for you, we're going to have a class in Phoenix this spring.
Oh,
If
maybe.
if it's closer for you, something to look at. I know that's in February. Okay,
Nice,
that's next.
maybe. Although I
So
like that hotel speakeasy you recommended over there in
yeah,
Colorado.
the Boulderado.
That was a great place. Yeah.
So when you're doing these jobs, obviously you know with what you're training, you're talking about the ComSop. Have you had any issues bringing the ComSop up with your clients or selling the inspections, or let me even say this: coming to the class, has that helped you sell to the clients?
It has. And I think that the issue with commercial inspections, at least here in Southern California, is that we're very much at the infancy of the industry.
Yeah.
And it's very much like NACHI did with home inspections many years ago, that they kind of led the group along and created, the industry. And this is where CCPIA is right now, is that you guys are leading the way to set the standards of what the inspection looks like, to make it more, to educate, basically. And if anything, that's the one roadblock that we have right now, is educating realtors of the importance of doing, and investors, the importance
Yeah.
of doing commercial inspections. A lot of investors don't know, kind of like homeowners, they don't know what a commercial inspection is. And then you have some realtors who have worked with larger spaces who want the full the PCA, the ASTM PCA. That's a whole other animal, and that's great, if you want to dive into that. But the majority of the smaller operations, they don't need forecasted systems replacement, stuff like that. They need to know the condition of the property. We're doing a triple net lease inspection tomorrow, and yeah, it's for those of the inspectors who are thinking about getting into it, you need to learn about leasing as well. A triple net lease basically means that the tenant has to pay for everything, the upkeep of the entire building, including the HVAC, the plumbing, everything. And so it makes perfect sense for them to do an inspection. So I think we're kind of pushing sand uphill a little bit right now, is educating people and telling them the difference between the inspections, why it's important, And I think as time progresses, that's going to become more of the norm to do an inspection for a lease or a purchase. And I'm happy, like I said, the CCPIA is leading the way on this, and we'll get to that point eventually. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to jump in now and start establishing our standards, our systems, specifically for commercial as opposed to residential, so that we can, once the industry grows more, we can be at the forefront.
Yeah. I've been here for 10 years. I guess you can stand there and say that, because I think we could all agree commercial inspections as a gnome, as an entity, is 30 years behind residential.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And if we can be out, I would rather be out ahead than behind all of this stuff. So tell me about one of your more recent commercial inspections you've done, and any challenges you might have had on it that you were able to figure out just by either your background or the standards or something helped you through it.
A lot of it, there's different types of things that come up. One of it is not so much a technical thing. And, just on, segueing from what we're talking about, is educating the buyers and what their expectations are and what they're going to get based on the ComSop. And telling them, look, this is what we're doing and this is what we're not doing. And so we've had a couple of awkward conversations with clients afterwards, and thinking that they were going to get, X, Y, and Z. And it's like, this is what we agreed that you were going to get. And, it's on the ComSop. We gave you a copy of it. We explained what we were going to do. The technical aspect of the inspections, it's getting used to some stuff. Just like in residential, technology is moving forward, and occasionally you see something that you haven't seen on new construction. So commercial is the same thing. And so we see a particular, HVAC system or something that we haven't seen before, some ventilation system for a kitchen or something like that. We'll make note of it. Like you've said in many of your videos, and I've watched practically every single one of your videos, I make note of it. I take several pictures. I tell my guys, take a lot of pictures. You can always delete the pictures you're not going to use, but you can't make them up after you leave. Take a lot of pictures. We'll do some research. We'll find out exactly what it is. And if we still can't answer the question or give them, adequate information, then we'll point them in the right direction at least, and tell them, hey, this is who you need to talk to. But for the most part, we've never had to do that. We can always answer pretty much anybody's question.
But isn't it fun to treat a 200,000 square foot industrial building just like a house, with the same client interaction and the same fun that you can have?
It is fun. It does take a little technical knowledge, and that's where the training comes in. But it is fun when you realize that you can finish a commercial building in almost the same time, depending on the size, as a house. Except you get paid a lot more.
Yeah, I have been in an earbud with friends during inspections, and what are you doing? I'm just about ready to look at a 3,000 amp, 480 277 service panel. What are you doing on the phone with me? And I'm just taking a picture. That's all I'm doing. Because they don't understand. They were residential inspectors. They were never going to look at a commercial building. Like,
exactly.
You should be trying this. The water's good. It's not very deep. It's pretty warm. It's a good business to be in.
It is. I agree. We are, as a matter of fact, I'm having meetings all day tomorrow with my team. And we always start the year off that way.
Oh yeah.
Do the one-to-ones, and let's kind of set our goals for 2024, and that is at top of our list right now is commercial. It's pushing ancillary services for residential, but it's also building that commercial. I want to have our, like I said, it is pretty much in its infancy. And so I want to build our market share for commercial this year.
I think
biggest goal.
When I was having those same meetings with my guys back in the day, it was always inspections per visit. That was the quotient. It was my expense was getting them in a car, having them get to the property. That was my expense. And so the more inspections that they could perform per visit on the property, i.e. ancillary services.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, are you taking advantage of any ancillary services on your commercial inspections?
We're trying. We're pushing sewer a lot.
Absolutely.
Moisture detection. We actually separated moisture detection. We do moisture detection as is for small areas when we're doing inspection, whether it's commercial or residential, but we also offer a more in-depth commercial, both on residential and commercial, moisture intrusion inspection / thermal imaging.
Yes.
And we sell that as a separate thing altogether.
Good.
And so we're, here, for example, the last month of 2023, the market took an 11% dive month to month. We matched our numbers for last year. I mean, we squeaked in at the very last week of December, but with an overall drop year to year in real estate market of about 6% in Southern California, we still managed to hit our numbers with less home inspections.
Yeah.
We did less inspections, commercial and residential, and we still matched the numbers that we made. And how did we do it? It's because of ancillary services.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how we do it. So moving forward, if we get more inspections, more ancillary services, there's no reason why we can't scale up on revenue. And I'm predicting at least that the real estate market is going to bounce back probably towards the spring.
Okay, good.
So,
I mean, I think a great example, and I hate dropping names on things like this, but I think of McDonald's. McDonald's, a San Diego company founded. They knew the idea of suggestive sell. Fries and pies. You just don't want a burger; you want a fry or a pie. And if you don't go to your client and say, "Would you like me to do sewer scope?" Yes. Well,
if you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you can think of sewer scope on a commercial building, Tony, I mean, I can think of scoping every roof drain where it enters the slab. I'm not looking just at the sewer. I might have 8, 10, 15 holes.
Well, the commercial one that I just told you, the multifamily / commercial, there was 3 separate buildings.
Yeah.
There's 3 separate mains right there.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to charge you X amount for this one, and we're going to charge you an additional amount for each other one. Yeah. And in this case, they were like really accessible. The cleanouts were right there. It's like, yay, like I said, if you don't ask, you'll never get it.
And that client purchasing that building has 60 different tenants putting bacon grease down the sewer and flushing wipes.
The last one that we did for the same client, very similar multi-building property, almost every single one of them had significant root damage from palm trees that were planted really close to the buildings. Almost every single one of them, we scoped out, I think, 5 mains on that, and almost every single one of them. That work on those sewer lines alone was going to be worth the cost of our expense. For that client.
Now you talked about intrusion, and doing thermal on those. Immediately my ear goes. I remember my last conversation I had with my brother, who builds industrial, mostly institutional. He says, from your background, you're working for municipalities and ICC. He said, He says, I was building one wall that took me 5 different times. I had to dismantle the wall just to make the thermal break right because of the moisture intrusion that was coming in, that either the team didn't get it right or the spec wasn't right or whatever it was. He was fighting moisture.
It happens. I've had to go back to properties several times, whether it be commercial or residential, several times. Right now, it just rained for the last couple of days.
Mhm.
One of the inspections that we got for tomorrow is specifically, well, it's a full inspection, but it's specifically moisture intrusion because there's a deck. It had already leaked. They fixed it. It leaked again. Now they're selling the property, and it sounds like they haven't done any repair work. And it just rained.
Okay.
I said, look, right now is the best time to do it. It just
Yeah.
finished raining. You know, if there's any moisture intrusion, it's going to jump right out at us when we put that thermal and moisture detection on it. But
Now,
yeah, it's one of those things that you just have to keep pushing and moving forward in 2024. Besides commercial, that's our biggest goal, is you have to ask for the ancillary services on
yeah,
every single inspection.
good for you. I mean, that's the easiest. You know, what is it? Work less, charge more, stay home more. You know,
Amen. Yeah.
I've had more arguments with inspectors through the years. I'm so busy. I can't keep up. Then raise your prices. Raise your prices by 20%, do 10% less work, and make 20% more money. It's just
Yeah.
math.
Yeah. Raise your prices, you know, scale if you need to. If you raise your prices, if there's that much of a demand that you're that busy, you're probably charging too little.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things I have to look at it this week, because it's the beginning of the year. Is I think we need to charge a little more for some of these things.
Time to mystery. Now, let me ask you this, Tony, because this is a personal question, and you can tell me to salt if you want. What's your win percentage on commercial going right now to jobs you've proposed and jobs that you've won?
I think the win percentage is probably just, and I'm just going off the top of my head here, is probably about 60%.
So
there are some that have come back and they just, for whatever reason, I think part of it is the education that we were talking about, is that they just don't see the value in doing the inspection for that much, not realizing that if one of these systems goes bad in their our inspection fee is going to be pennies compared to what they could have saved now. So part of it is that. Part of it is, you know, hey, I have a friend who's a contractor who's going to go take a look at it.
Yeah.
And it was very similar in the infancy of residential inspections. I have Uncle Bob, is what we call him.
Yeah.
I have Uncle Bob, you know, the family handyman who's going to go do my inspection for me. And until they became the norm to get a home inspection.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get there with a commercial inspection. And, you know, thankfully right now, for those people who are thinking of getting in, get your training, attend these classes, and start building your market share. And when we get to that point where we are with residential and in commercial, you're going to own a good part of that market.
Yeah. I've always used the term dibs. You know, if I'm here first and I call it shotgun with your brother or your sister, it's like shotgun. I got dibs on this. If you were there first, everybody else has to follow whatever you
exactly
ascribe to.
I'm going to give you an example of that. Right now, here in California, we have Senate Bill 721, which was enacted last year, but it's going to the requirement is they have to meet the requirement by January 1st, 2025, in that all apartment buildings and condominiums have to have their balconies inspected, like the ones in your background right there, that are cantilevered in specific. And because of a tragedy that happened in 2015, where a fifth floor balcony collapsed and killed 6 students in Berkeley. So they enacted this, and right now, nobody is leading the field. There's a lot of people who are jumping into the market, mostly construction companies that are using SB 721 as an avenue to generate construction work.
Yeah.
My value proposition right now and trying to gain some of the market share is, hey, I am an independent, 100% biased, inspection only company. I'm not going to try to sell you any construction products, and we'll do your inspection. But right now there is, because if you read the Senate bill, it's very vague. There are no standards, kind of like in commercial, which is what CCPIA is doing now. is setting the standards, like Natchez did for residential inspection. There is no standards right now for balcony inspections. And so whoever gets there first calls dibs.
Yeah.
This is the way we're doing it, so everybody else follows what we're doing. And if you're doing something better, I want to know, of course.
Yeah, it's amazing if you just put your ear to the rail, how much work you can locate and you can find by just being aware.
Absolutely.
Now, I want to go back to your fees. I found that every time my win ratio got north of 70, so you're at 60, when it got north of 70, that was a price adjustment time.
Okay.
Because every time I was doing not charging enough because that other friend of mine in the marketplace I was going against. Well, then that didn't count. But if it was time that I was anytime winning 70% or north, then that's when I would do a price adjustment, bring it back down to 50, 60.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
It was just an easy way. Otherwise, I do my mystery shopping and all those things that you're going to do anyway. Now,
I had a realtor tell me one time, "Hey, you guys are charging too little," and we actually crossed that line. We're actually friends now, and this is on multifamily. And he says, "Hey, some of the other people are charging X amount per door here, and I've been working from." I'm like, "Well, great, I'm going to raise your prices too."
Yeah.
But the mystery shopping is great, and you have to do that as part of your regular operations. But sometimes it's just the realtors that you're very comfortable with. It's just talking to them.
Yeah.
Saying, "Hey, where are we? I mean, just be honest with me off the record." It's like, where are we price wise? And you'd be amazed. They'll tell you.
Yeah, because you don't want to be that situation where pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. You want to be. I've always because I on the residential side we fed 20. On the commercial side, we fed 5.
Okay.
So we had 25. Well, I wanted to make sure everybody worked every day.
Yes.
And so I would rather in the mindset of win the job, make money.
Yeah.
So that I can work tomorrow.
Exactly.
Versus I'm going to charge so much money that it's going to be insane, but it's the only job I got to do this month.
I see a lot of people who do that both on the commercial and the residential side, and lose a lot of inspections, and that's great unless you have other mouths to feed. On occasion, as a business owner, you have to make hard decisions. It's like, I'd rather make less on this inspection or make almost nothing on this inspection, but my inspectors are getting paid.
Yeah.
And I'll make it up on the next one wherever I can. And
you bet.
And you make it up, but you keep your guys working. And it's just a trade-off.
Well, in commercial inspections, Tony, I have found our inspectors get paid twice right now. Once they get paid in their pocket, and the second time they get paid between their ears and behind their eyes. And every good job they do, or every job they do in the infancy of this industry, they're getting smarter.
Absolutely. Hey, you don't get to a point. Now, you've been around for a long time, and I've been around for a long time, and you don't get to this point and look back and not realize, wow, there's a lot I learned along the way, and we learned a lot of what we know in the days where there was no Natchez, where there was no CCPIA. There was very little internet and YouTube videos, and we learned the hard way. The school of Knox. I had a beeper, and
I did too
when I started.
So. Ray Ward put on, if you're friends with Ray Ward on Facebook, he put a bag phone up this week as his first sell. I had to buy a bag phone from Marshall Fields because I couldn't get a hold of somebody at the payphone. I think I probably spent $2,000 or $3,000 on that darn phone. So Yeah,
I remember
it's
the first time I got my first TomTom. It was Black Friday. I stood in front of a store at 5 o'clock in the morning to get my first GPS. Oh
yeah,
my God, the little GPS, and now everybody has it on their phone.
yeah.
The
We
technology's come a great way, but yet I still see, and both when I was in Colorado at your class, and I mentor some NACHI inspectors. I'm on their list for mentoring. So I get the phone calls and I see the posts online. And, I see so many inspectors still reinventing the wheel.
yes.
And, it just blows my mind. It's like with the technology, the classes, the organizations like CCPIA out there now, why wouldn't you sign up to these classes? Stand on the shoulders of giants and go from there. You don't have to start from the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's amazing when some of the stuff I read, and I might not post, but it just makes my ears just explode. I know I would be remiss without saying, Tony, with a multi-inspector firm that you have you taken advantage of our multi-inspector membership policy?
I have.
Good,
Yes.
good. If you haven't, it's the principal is the membership owner, and then every subordinate is only $100. So it
Yep.
allows you as the owner or the mentor of the group to be able to track their education, make sure but then they get all the resources on their own as well. So it really
I have one of my guys right now, and the other guy who I'm going to be sending soon to your next class, whether it be in Colorado or Phoenix, then I'm going to sign him up, and we're building that foundation right now,
good.
and really working hard at marketing this year. But yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna take advantage of
Well,
that.
I'd like to kind of close the conversation with maybe something about marketing. So launching this commercial division, because you did it as a division of your principal company. Um, where have you gone in locating your commercial work, or has it just been organic?
Some has been organic because I've been around for a long time. And so a lot of the realtors that I work with also do commercial. And so it makes it a little easier to
Mhm.
seek that out. One of the things that you taught in your class was about the options of opening up a separate division or opening up a separate company. I last year, in preparation for all of this, went and I have an LLC. I actually changed the LLC name from Villa Home Inspections to Villa Property Inspections. And one of the first things that I did was build out the web page and web pages specifically for commercial, and it's really comprehensive. I do a lot of blog posts,
Uh,
and so I started doing more commercial blog posts as well, because you attach all of those blog posts to the web page. So when people get there, they're like, oh, look, they really do know what they're talking about. They've written all these articles. And so in reference to marketing, I do a lot of, I know you shouldn't, but a lot of data scraping from the internet. And you can
good.
find all of these agents online. And
Yeah.
yeah, social media is great, but you're not going to find that many realtors, commercial realtors on Facebook and Instagram. You might find some on LinkedIn. Go to LoopNet, and you'll find some there. And that's
I
where
mean,
I
the
get
commercial realtor's not standing there with a welcome home sign in front of their clients
exactly.
at the
You have to go
closing.
look for them. You have to go look for them, and you have to. What I found in marketing is that email marketing works the best.
Yes.
You need to start building your database now of all the local realtors who do commercial. And you need to segment the realtors in your database who do residential, who do commercial, and you need to target specific segments of your database on a regular basis. And the services like MailChimp, and if you have ISN, it's built in.
Yep.
Don't cost you a whole heck of a lot, and you get your information directly in front of the people that you want to hit. And that's been pretty successful. As a matter of fact, I sent out 2 of them yesterday. Like
Okay.
that's been pretty successful.
I applaud what you're doing, because that's exactly how I built my business.
Yeah.
I felt like going after the consumer and then finding the direct referrals was the easiest, most cost effective way.
Exactly. And
Right.
and I think the main point to marketing is to not take your foot off the pedal.
Mm-hmm.
Even in slow times, when things slow down, people don't want to spend any money on marketing, and you have to get creative about the email marketing. Doesn't cost a whole heck of a lot.
No.
You can't put your foot off the pedal. Get your foot off the pedal, because if you slow down trying to get that momentum up again, it takes you that much more time and effort. And whether it's busy or it's slow, you always have to have a consistent marketing plan going on all the time.
And I think that's what separates the business owner from the dabbler, or maybe the business owner from the lemonade stand.
Yeah.
People are not going to drive down the road and go, huh, I think I want a commercial inspection. I better call Tony. They have to know that you do it, want you to do it, find you to do it, and then pay you to do it.
Yep. Yeah, and it's about relationship building. You start building relationships right now with the realtors, who are the ones who are going to be feeding you these referrals. They need to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. And that's the only way that they're going to do business with you. Yep. So you need to start the groundwork now and start building that foundation and those relationships. And it makes it a lot easier. And that doesn't cost, it costs you but time. Yeah. And if you're looking for business and you don't have enough business, you've got nothing but time.
Yeah. It's either that or you're exercising your thumbs, and that doesn't get you any business.
Exactly.
Tony, thank you so much for spending some time. And I wanted to highlight you on the member spotlight. I think when you were in Boulder last, I guess it was last fall, it was great to meet you. It was great to work with you, and I wish you and Vila Property Inspections nothing but the best.
Thank you so much, Rob. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad to help any way I can. I know you guys are definitely leading the way when it comes to commercial inspection industry. So I'm looking forward to see what's gonna, where we're all gonna go. And yeah, you'll be seeing one of my guys at your class soon.
I look forward to Tony, and best wishes and good luck with everything.
Amen. Take care.